Hi everybody, it's Mike here. In this video we're going to talk about an issue we had with Logic Apps Standard. We're using the new Inline Functions feature and we had a particular problem we had to troubleshoot, and I wanted to go through some of the steps we had to look at for dealing with this issue. Now, before we jump into today's video, I just want to do a quick shout out for Turbo 360. So they helped me with the channel, give me some support producing videos and stuff. The Turbo 360, they've got a new white paper out, so I actually helped write the paper, and it's about cost-effective Azure solutions comparing Turbo 360 and Azure cost management. So there's a whole bunch of info about the paper. To find it, you go to resources, white papers, and it's this one in the corner here, unlocking the efficiency. So please check that white paper out. Back to today's video. So here, what happened in this scenario is we're executing a logic app, standard logic app. You can see here we've got the call from the workflow to an inline function, and what we're doing is we're passing some data into the function, and it basically gets an error. It was working okay in the dev environment and the test environment. When they went live, we started getting an issue. So we can see the issue here was that verify the function code's valid, and that's really all we're getting in the workflow. If you scroll down the designer, it doesn't really give you anything more than that about what the problem is. So there's a bit of a question about what is the actual issue here. Now, when we were troubleshooting it, the next thing we did is we're looking in the run history. That's all we get. In App Insights, you can see here we've got a couple of sort of actions that come up where it shows us we've got some error messages. But actually, if you look into the error, this is the bit down here that it gives you, and it doesn't really tell you anything that the Logic App run history didn't tell us. So we've got a real problem understanding what's going on with this function. So we can't quite work out, is it the problem that the function's not valid? Is the problem that the data being passed in is invalid? We were a bit sort of stuck with what to do next. So sometimes people forget that we've got the option, you can just see on the corner of the screen here, on the app service, you can go to the log stream. And this is really good. This is my go-to thing if I sort of have an issue and I'm not really sure what's going on. So you get the stream that if you're running your workflows locally on your dev machine, it's a bit like the stream that it would show up in func.exe when they're running. So you sometimes get a bit of extra info. And what we were finding is this error here. This is a function error, but it wasn't showing up in App Insights. Now maybe there's a question here about possibly our host.json might need to be looked at to see if we can tune some information to make these come up. But this error here didn't show up in App Insights. It does show up in the log stream, so just be aware of that for troubleshooting. Now, what we could see is the input string here is not a valid integer, so that little bit there was the value being passed in, and this here was the field. So that tells me that there's something wrong with the data. So that's a good step forward. Initially, we thought there must have been a deployment issue with the function code, or maybe there was some config on the app when it was set up that meant the function couldn't execute. So it looks like it's actually getting into the function, and it's just some kind of serialization issue. So what we did is we looked at the data coming into this parse JSON. We've got this event here, and we can see the UTC timestamp's actually an integer there, and so everything kind of looks good. And what happened next was when we get further down to the function call, you can see here we're actually using the string function, and we actually take the body of that parse JSON higher up the workflow, convert it to a string, and that was getting passed into the function. And what we were finding is if you look at the kind of the run history from that function call where it says please verify the function code's valid, you could see the value being passed in here. It's got a .0 on it. So somehow when the workflow is doing that conversion from the JSON object to a string, it's basically converting that to be a zero. Now it could be that we might have to check the parse JSON schema possibly. Maybe it's set as a double or something, or a number which is making the point zero appear on the end. We're going to have a look into that. But really what was happening was the C# code was expecting it to be an integer. Inside the C# code of the function, we were actually casting it or serializing it to this object where it was an integer. I think my guess is, I'm going to check this afterwards, the parse JSON had it as a number, and when we pass it here, the string is, the string conversion is actually adding the dot zero on, even though back here, so if we go back, we just didn't see that here in the output. But then when we add this string convert here, it's putting the zero on. So what we ended up doing was we ended up going and just making a modification to the C# code in the function to just convert the data type for our class in C# to be a double instead of an integer, and that basically fixed the problem. It works fine. I think in hindsight, one of the things that we did, if you watched quite a number of videos ago when I first started trying this feature out, I had a bit of a dialogue going with Ken, because originally I'd pass data in as a string, not realizing that I could just actually pass it in as the object and have the workflow runtime and the function runtime just handle all the serialization for me. So I was passing it as a string and then re-serializing it. So that two hop overhead I can pull out, and I think I might not have done it on this function. But really the two takeaways I want from this video are, number one, the importance of log stream. So when you have an error that you're not sure what to do, don't forget that the log stream's there, and it might give you a few hints that you haven't spotted elsewhere. And number two would be on calling functions where you can, it's best to just pass a JSON object and have it as an object in the signature of your function. Whereas the mistake I've made here was I've kind of converted it to a string and then back to an object, which I've got this kind of serialization issue adding that dot zero on the end. So hopefully that video was handy for people. Hope you all have a great week. Thanks.